You are listening to the Hodges Huddle, where we discuss all things in the wide world of sports. Here's your KLSU sports team.
Welcome into the Hodges Huddle. I'm your host, Andre Champagne, and today I am joined by Raven Freeman and Michael Poggi. How are we doing on this Monday?
It's great, man. It's a little magical Monday. You know
Magic Monday. Shout out Jaden.
Shout out Jaden. I'm feeling good, man. It's a good Monday.
I'm feeling good. The Texans got blown out by the Vikings, so I'm a little sad. But Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels tonight.
That is
Night Football.
tonight.
Tiger Bowl.
That's going to be really
Bowl.
fun to watch.
Yeah,
but
it is.
I would say we would give predictions for that, but I mean, this isn't going to be up until Tuesday, so there's really no point. But I mean, I'm good. We had a kind of chill weekend. Still kind of busy, but you know, school's starting to get us a little tired over here.
No lie.
And it's almost
100%.
it's not almost midterms, but it feels like it's creeping up on us.
Yeah.
So besides that, I had a good weekend, and also the fact that the Saints lost. So, but
That wasn't great.
That wasn't great.
That wasn't awesome.
But starting off, LSU defeated UCLA by a score of 34-17 in a game where LSU played a messy first half and then shaped up in the second half. Garrett Nussmeier had a very efficient game where he went 32 for 44 with 352 yards and 3 touchdowns. LSU seemed to rush the ball much better in this game, even if it were only for about 100 yards. So first off, talk about why do you think LSU was struggling so much in the first half offensively after that first drive? Because, I mean, that first drive looked like the best drive of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they kind of went back to it was bad,
Yeah, it wasn't great. But, you know, I will say that what they've been doing all year isn't going to work in the long run, but it is going to work against a team like UCLA. So if you struggle early and you are able to make those plays down the end, it does help. Why did they struggle so much? I don't know. Because after that first drive, it looked like we were going to score on every play.
Yeah.
It did.
And we were moving the ball. It was a run first, then you pass, then you run. It wasn't just pass. We looked like an offense, and then I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was very complicated, but
I mean, yeah, like you said, of course the run couldn't get anything started fast, but then like Michael just said, pass. I think that was a problem. Like the receivers couldn't keep anything in their hands. Like I feel like they were dropping passes
Connor
left and
probably
right.
had one of his worst games. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this was none of Garrett's fault. Garrett was throwing dimes all game, but it's like when he's having a game like that, the receivers can't afford to play like they did. I mean, like you just said, Kyron had a tough game. I mean, he made those nice catches, but it's like he was dropping them like butter.
Yeah, it was weird because a lot of those balls were in his hand. Well, balls weren't in his hands, but I don't know. Like first for me, like I think the blame goes to Joe Sloan. Joe Sloan is being a good offensive coordinator entails that you know the perfect balance of when to be aggressive and you know when to push the ball, when to run the ball, just stuff like certain situations, like say a 3rd and 4 or 2nd and 7, just stuff like that. Knowing what plays to call against certain defenses, and I also think he's struggling to read opposing defenses. Like you can always have scripted plays to start the game. So I mean that's what a lot of offense coordinators do. So maybe that could have been why LSU was so dominant in that first drive.
Right.
But after that, you got to make adjustments because if you don't think that UCLA is not going to make adjustments, what kind of coach are you? You know, same thing you could have said about the Saints this weekend, but that's another topic. But for the most part, I think in the second half he started to call a better game for sure. I think they kind of went to just a little more different looks, and like I said, you got to be different. You can't do the same stuff and mix it up. If you're going to do the same thing, do it differently. Like do it just a little bit differently. Line up the guys, a little, I guess, in a different formation. It just doesn't matter. But Garrett Nussmeier was very efficient. Like I said, what does he have to continue to do in the coming weeks to allow LSU to be so successful in the pass game? Because obviously, Michael, you kind of hinted at it, that run game was kind of non-existent, and Ole Miss game is creeping up now. So if you want to be good against these SEC teams, you're going to have to be able to pass the ball efficiently because you've shown that you can't run it.
Well, yeah, Ole Miss for one, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
South Alabama, we need to be able to score the ball, or else we're gonna have some issues.
That defense is not gonna play well next week.
That offense over at South Alabama honestly isn't a joke. Like they can,
Brian Kelly was saying that
they can play. They can score the football. Like they have athletes over there too, and so I think that offensively for Garrett Nussmeier, his long ball needs to be sharper. He hit one good one to Parker in the end zone, and that was great. Other than that, he missed a lot long, a lot maybe just off. And I will say I was very happy to see them go to it though. Like they were letting him throw the ball.
At least they were letting him play his game.
They were letting him go deep, and because that's what they say his strength is. I would like to see him convert on more of those long balls. That's just being sharper, and hopefully, next week, if he's able to do that, then the consistency in there, the offense, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think he will be able to do it. I mean, I feel like his deep ball has developed so much this season alone. I mean, like South Carolina last week, that was scary. I mean, like where was his O-line? Like, what did you expect? But it's like, I feel like it's improved even from last game to this game because the O-line showed up. But my answer is, he needs to keep that calmness in the pocket. Look how much better he played this last Saturday because he was so calm. Like Andre said last podcast, he was very poised. That is so important because look at the improvements he was able to make just because you could tell he was confident. His attitude changed. I feel like it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize like Garrett Nussmeier is playing like a top 3 quarterback in the SEC right now.
Right.
Which is it's nice to see. For sure, especially from a first-year starter, you have to give him a little bit of credit.
It's a lot of pressure.
And so I think he just has to be able to make those right decisions and make the easy throws, make the ones that you absolutely have to make. Because if you do that, you give your offense a shot for sure. Yep. Because these are guys that are going to go and make a play, right? I think I trust Mason Taylor to go break a few tackles. I trust Aaron Anderson to do the same thing.
Both have been incredible this season.
Exactly. Both of those guys have stepped up for LSU. And Chris Hilton's going to have to do it soon when he gets back healthy. I didn't really see – I mean, I think I saw him a few plays, maybe in blocking.
Said, in the presser, he was like, it was a game time decision not to start him. He didn't seem 100%, which is.
I mean, we knew that wasn't going to happen, but also didn't see him like involved in the pass game much. That's all I'm saying is, you got to get him a little more.
Right.
And we did see Samson out there too.
Yeah. So
and he didn't get. I don't know if he got many targets, but I don't think he got many. I don't even know if he got one, but it was nice to see him out there and some other guys out there because we are going to need other players to go out.
Yeah, like Kyle Parker.
Make a play.
That came out of nowhere. Parker. Nobody expected that.
And we needed that. And but he was, he had a good camp over summer and over fall, and so I think he's
Yeah, I agree.
Getting into his.
It's just funny because
steps.
I mean, like Nick Saban said, you shake a tree in Louisiana and
right.
The talent falls out. But I think you could just say that about the wide receiver room at LSU, period. Like, even in a year where you didn't think Kyle Parker was going to be, much of a, difference maker, look at him now, right? Like, look at all the guys like Aaron Anderson, Kyle Parker. Now, next could be Trey Green just in that tight end room. So, but Nuss, like I said, I think, like Michael said, I think the deep ball has to get a little bit better because that's what he was coveted for the past 2 years.
Right.
I mean, that's the player he was. That's what he loves to do. And he struggled within those throws of 25 and above.
He did, man.
I think if a few of those throws were a little better to Kyron Lacey, he would have probably had a touchdown or two.
Yeah.
And he also missed Trey Green wide open on one of those plays where he threw away. But he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
Let's not get he also
he's
made
playing
some really
great.
good throws.
Yeah.
There was one that he made on the run.
Aaron Anderson
found Aaron Anderson. Look, it wasn't a no looker, but it was
improvised.
Body. And that's a hard throw, tough throw to make. Found a wide open receiver
in double coverage, by the way.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So UCLA was giving LSU some trouble in the first half with their offense. what were some of the issues that y'all were seeing with that LSU defense just in the first half, and how do you think they adjusted in the second half? Because obviously they held them to 0 points and 95 yards in the second half.
I think, like, the secondary, it was little to, like, non-existent. Like, in the first half, UCLA's receivers were running all over those guys. Like, in the press box, I was like, man, there's no coverage.
That tight end went crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And, like, I feel like in the second half, they just kind of woke up. Like, Ashton Stamps played like his usual self. Major Burns had a nice
He had a good second half.
Yeah. And
not a good first half.
Yeah, he had a nice second half. So, because...
If we even want to call it a half. Like, he had a good fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean,
he's...
But the thing about Major and Sage and those guys,
they're not supposed to be where they are right now.
And they're not, but like, and also it's just, it sucks because they make a play. They'll go out there and make a really good play,
and then they get
they'll
burnt
do
the next
something
play,
that hurts us even more.
Right.
Like they'll go right back to him. Like that in the fourth quarter, Major made a great tackle, and then
third down.
Like and then third down comes, they go right back down to Major, and Major just like looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, it truly is one step forward, 2 steps back.
It is with this defense for some, not even the defense. The defensive backs, that's what it's been like. But, I mean, like Brian Kelly said, nobody's walking in there. So, but I agree with you on defensive backs. You want me to go real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think LSU defense was just blitzing a little too much in that first half because, I mean, obviously they were getting pressure no matter what. Like in the second half, I think if they would have dropped back in the first half like they did in the second half, they would have got pressure no matter what because, Garbers is a guy that got out the pocket and that hurt LSU a few times.
Yeah.
And if they would have just maybe let Whit Weeks, put a spy on them for a few plays on those third downs and longs, I think LSU would not have had any trouble with this UCLA team for all 4 quarters. I don't think that would have been anything but what do you...
I mean, look, I agree that it's in the defensive back area. I also think that our pass rush has gotten a lot better.
I think so.
Our pass rush has gotten a lot better. We're able to apply more pressure is the most important thing. The issue is when they don't get to them,
the DBs are
hurting them.
Yep.
And our defense is still just not good enough to where it needs to be,
right,
to be a great football team. And that it's a bummer, but like that's just we've
that's
seen,
the reality.
Honestly, I've seen enough football games now to kind of realize that this defense hasn't it's gotten better, yes, but it hasn't gotten that much better. No. And it will. It's
improving week by week. That's the thing.
It will get better. It will get better week by week, year by year with the guys that we're bringing in and with the staff that we have.
Yep.
It's still their first year with this new coaching staff. So I have faith, but there are a lot of things that need to be worked on.
There's a lot of kinks that need to be worked out.
I agree. And it's weird because I feel like a lot of guys are just in positions that they don't need to be in. Like Major Burns doesn't belong at that star position. He belongs at the top, in my opinion.
Well, now you got to make a decision.
Yeah, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Now you got to make a decision.
But first, before we go back to the defense, how nice was it to get running backs involved in the receiving room?
Yeah,
in the pass game.
Like Michael just expressed, like you could see it on his face, like it was a relief. I've been saying they should get involved in the passing game. And not only did we see how well, baby steps, it worked Saturday, but that's what they were doing last season with Jaden. So it's like, why not continue that? That's the stuff that I don't understand.
Well, yeah, if they want to drop back like UCLA was doing, I mean, it's easy. Take the check down. Take the 5 yards and let your running backs go to work. This is what they love to do. They love to work in open space. You saw what Caden Durham made it.
That man can run.
I love that guy.
You give him the ball on open space, he's going to go out there and make a play.
Yeah, Caleb Jackson was even able to get some.
He was.
Jackson got a lot better.
Caleb Jackson looked a lot better.
He did.
And I thought Josh Williams ran the ball really well.
I think so too.
I thought he ran.
I thought all 3 guys played a really good football game.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I thought that there were obviously times that it wasn't going to work.
Because that's the offensive line.
But that's the offensive line.
And that's not more so the offensive line. That's Joe Sloan, like I said. You can't expect – Here's my thing. You can't expect to run down the middle every single play and expect to do something.
Right,
I'm
they're
sorry.
going to pick up on every defense is going to pick up on
you're
that.
going to get the box is going to get loaded. These guys are going to they're going to know what gaps to shoot. I'm sorry. Like you have to mix something in. You have to pull at least a guard. Do something different. Like I said, you cannot be predictable. But that's what I'm repeating. I'm like a broken record here of what Joe Sloan is failing to do these past few weeks. So, but like I said, let's talk about that defensive line as a unit. Just super impressed with the way that they've been able to play. How have they helped this defense as a whole step forward? Just take a step forward each week. You kind of already mentioned it. I mean, they're helping the DBs.
Yeah,
With their assignment.
and they don't always get to them. I thought Whit Weeks looked a lot better too.
I thought so
this
too.
past week. But I mean, and obviously Braden Swinson has showed us that he's legit on the edge. And so yeah, I think that this defensive end is starting to come together at the right time, and they're going to need to be. The D line needs to be incredible in SEC play.
Yeah,
It does. It does, and especially.
And I think they're going to be good enough
hopefully
to give you a chance. And
yes.
by what I mean by that is the defensive line is going to get pressure. It's going to be up to the linebackers, and it's going to be up to the defensive backs to say, "Hey, we got to go make a play. We got to do this for them because they can't get behind the lines 7 times a game." I'm sorry, that's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a relief because last week against South Carolina, the linebackers, the DBs, they weren't able to do what they did this week because of, how bad it was last week. You talked about like how these guys are young. So, they're learning. And I like how you could see those improvements on the field against UCLA. Like you can tell, okay, they were coached this, we're going to practice it, and that was a result on the field.
Yeah, and for me, it's just like Bo Davis and Kevin Peoples have shown how big they've, how huge contributors they've been to the development of some of these guys. I mean, these are guys you had in the room all last year, and they weren't able to get to the pass rush. So, I mean, just being able to get them to play freely and, comfortably, it shows a big difference. Obviously, also something I've been impressed with within this defensive line is just it's always somebody new stepping up each week. Like obviously, the first 2 weeks it was Savion Jones for this defensive line. Now it's Braden Swinson, and now you're kind of wondering, hey, who's next, right?
Right.
And you kind of got a little bit of a preview. I think JVR Suggs, is going to be a guy that who he's impressing, and Paez too. I think both of those guys have shown, some great
100%,
things.
man. My main thing is just the fact that they were able to only allow 14 rushing yards compared to the week before, giving up 243.
That's big.
That's a huge deal, and when
it's big for the interior line.
It's when you can stop the run and you only have to worry about one specific part of the field. It makes it a lot easier to make a couple stops and give up a touchdown here and there. But it makes it a lot easier to make a couple stops and give your offense a chance to go down there and make consecutive scores to win you the game, which is exactly what happened on Saturday. So if you're able to, stop the run, it makes that offense for the other team so much more difficult to make something happen.
No, I agree. And it's like you're able to drop guys back.
Right,
And like your defensive line allowed you to play a game where they forced UCLA to throw the ball because running it was we're running it for a yard.
Yeah.
And that's not doing us anything. So
and they gave up 281 passing yards, but
but I mean that's going to be expected. Yes.
But when you give up 295 total yards and 281 of it was passing, and you only gave up 17 points.
And here's the thing: most of those 281 that comes from the first half.
Right.
So it's a tale of two halves, really.
Exactly.
Like LSU played like a great team in the second half.
They didn't score in the second half.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
But here's the bad news. Junior linebacker Harold Perkins Jr. Torn ACL. He's out for the year. Just awful. And even I didn't even fix his question, but what does that mean for the defense and who's got to step up? I mean, what do you have to fix? I mean, I could start here, but
go ahead.
I think you got to force Major Burns to play in that star position now, which is the worst news possible if you're an LSU fan. But that means LSU is going to have to rely on way better safety play from Jordan Gilbert, who's played well, and then Jordan Allen. I think both of those guys played well this week. But that also means that Wood Weeks and Greg Penn are going to have to step up big time.
Well, the thing that just stinks about it the most is obviously, well, first of all, get well, Perk. Like, love you, buddy. We need,
It's unfortunate.
It's a sad thing. We hope you stay another year. You know what I mean? But the real thing about it is just I don't know. When you have a lead tackler, one of your best tacklers on the team, go down,
or just best physical.
Well,
player,
right, but you already have an issue tackling the guy. We've had so many broken tackles on us the last 3 weeks. It's reminded me of last year, and when you lose a guy who's one of your most physical players, it just doesn't help you in any way.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It is a huge loss. I think I'm just trying to lighten the mood. We're all sad.
Yeah.
Get better, Perk. Especially with, the hype and, what he's done for LSU. It's a huge loss. But I don't know if Kelly in the press conference was trying to keep his composure or what. But he seemed not too worried in the press conference on Saturday. I mean,
I don't trust that man.
Perk is, he also had that leadership rolling away, but he was talking about, we still have Wood Weeks, we still have Greg Penn. I feel like he was like, I feel like it won't be that hard to fill.
What do you want him to say?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to go.
What do you want him to say? Oh yeah, we lost.
You guys took the answer right out of my mouth,
no,
so
I
I'm
get
just
it, but
okay. Let me say what BK said because in the press conference he was like,
now you're relying on a freshman, and Xavier Atkins, and you're also relying on West Weeks, he's been all right, but can he stay healthy?
Right.
So
I mean, he'll be back next week, so we'll see. That's what BK
we'll
said
see,
as well.
But I mean, down the line, this is going to hurt LSU.
It is
easily. I mean, we'll see after this week, and we'll get back to y'all. But I think it's going to be
devastating.
It's going to be something else watching this defense.
That was probably the worst thing defensively that could have happened.
Oh, for sure.
Especially, I do not want to play this South Alabama team. I hate to break it to y'all.
No, I don't too. But that poses my next question. Do you think LSU handles South Carolina okay with the way that they've been playing other teams?
Handle them? What do you mean?
Do you think they win?
I think they win the football game. I don't think they're
going to make it a lot harder.
Yeah. I don't think they cover.
Yeah,
spread's 22.
It's 21 right now.
I don't know. I don't think they cover. I think unless they are able to make a few consecutive stops, it's going to be very difficult because this team's going to be able to score. So can we score? Can we score every possession? Can we match their scoring? Because if we can't stop them, we better score the football.
I think LSU is going to be able to handle them. South Alabama, don't get me wrong, they're a team that knows how to play on offense, but physicality-wise, they haven't been tested at all. They literally haven't. I'm sorry.
I know, I agree.
I get they scored 87 on a Northwestern State team, but they didn't even have a football program last year. It's the same team that literally had to shut down camp, and they beat Appalachian State by a lot. Yes, Appalachian State is probably one of the worst teams in the Sun Belt now after being one of the best years ago. So they're ranked 128th in strength of schedule.
I get it, but they can still score.
Right.
We're going to win the football game.
I mean, it's true, but here's my thing. It's going to take them playing a full 4 quarters.
Yeah.
You've seen LSU. They haven't played 4 quarters of good football in a game this year. They haven't. You can't tell me that. They have. LSU.
Yeah, no.
No, they haven't. They didn't do it against UCLA. They played 2.
That's
Nichols,
my point with
too.
Michael. Michael is concerned with the scoring. I am too because we don't know how many points South Alabama.
No, yeah, I'm just saying. It's going to take a great effort. But
we don't know how many points they're going to.
I don't think LSU's going to struggle crazily.
I don't think they're going to struggle. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people.
Exactly. That's what I believe too. I mean, this is a team that can score, and we don't know how many they're going to put up in the first half. Okay, LSU's not a first half team. And then, honestly, depending on how LSU's feeling, how South Alabama's feeling, we don't know how many points are going to be put up in the second half.
Yeah, here's the thing, though.
LSU being a second half team is not good.
All that film you had on the LSU defense, you can throw it out the window. So South Alabama's going in there blind pretty much.
I think if LSU
that gives LSU a little more of an advantage.
But I also think if they go in with as much confidence as I think they do.
Well, LSU is. I don't think by any means they're happy with the way they've been playing. I don't think so at all. So. And they know this is a trap game.
100%.
They see it.
Oh, it's
they
a
see
trap
it on
game,
social
100%.
media. Yeah,
South Alabama wants to win. South Alabama is going to come into this place
by the way,
hyped
their
and
coach,
ready to roll.
Major Applewhite.
Oh my.
Baton Rouge native. So
BK said that.
There's nobody more that wants to beat them. So we're gonna move on though to the Saints. Just really quick. This game didn't bother me too bad. It's early in the season, but New Orleans Saints, they did suffer their first loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. First off, the Saints offense was unable to move the ball down the field almost all game, but you got to give credit where credit's due. I think the Eagles played really well on defense, but what do you think the Saints should have learned? Leaned on more with their offense. And it's kind of a two-part because obviously you have we can just combine them.
Yeah,
Eric McCoy down.
Yeah,
that limits the playbook.
Yes, I wanted to wait. McCoy going down limits your playbook when you lose.
It's the best center in the game.
When you lose your center, that's you can lose a guard sometimes. You can lose a tackle.
You saw with the Eagles, they lost. They lost a tackle. They lost
lose your center.
Yeah.
And then obviously not having Taysom Hill.
Yep.
Hurts you. I think if we have Taysom, we win that ball game because the way we use Taysom,
he's a blocker.
He's a blocker. You can throw him in different run scenarios.
You can run him.
You can run him. Yep. You can throw to him. You can do whatever you want to do with him. And teams still struggle even though they know what's going to happen. So when you have that other guy, it's my whole thing is being one or two dimensional. You add that 3 or 4 dimensions to your else. You've got more options and more ways to kill your opponent and score, and that's why I think we've been able to score so much because we've got so much we can do. Yep. And when you solo out Derek Carr, it kind of hurts him a little bit more.
Yeah, since you combine the questions, essentially, this offense looked the most thrown off that it has all season, and I feel like it's. They weren't able to fill those gaps.
Defense.
Especially
against a great front too. By the way,
right. And shout out to the Saints defense because they held it down the whole game. And the Saints offense could just never get it together. Our defense is going out there, they're dominating.
And the defense is going to do that every game. That's the craziest part. That defense is going to do that every single game.
Right, but that's
maybe not one. They're going to do it most though.
Yeah, but that's how you lose when you go out there. You kind of look nervous. Derek Carr looked scared. The Saints essentially didn't fill those gaps. And, when you don't play to the last 4 minutes of the game, that's how you lose.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I think they, like I said, it limits the playbook. McCoy going down. And you didn't really see them utilize the middle of the field. And that has to do, like I said, with them losing the center because he's your downfield guy and he's your lead blocker as a center. So I think they'll be all right, though. Moving forward, like I said, it's not the biggest loss for the Saints. And it's still early. Like you said, you still played one of the better teams.
You did,
to the very end. I think, obviously, Derek Carr was going to have to make a bad decision on that drive no matter what.
It was almost 3-0 for, the whole game.
Exactly.
Yeah, into the last 4 minutes.
And it just happens. They made the plays that they had to, and the Saints did. So, what's something you think this team can learn from after this loss specifically?
I said something simple. Don't hold it against him. Jalen Hurts is an incredible quarterback. Like you said, it's still early. You were still able to compete. We talked about last podcast. I don't remember the teams fully, but they're going to play the next 4 games against some really good teams. I would say don't let this cloud your mind. Don't be negative. Just
I think they'll be all right.
I agree with you. Look. It's 17 game season for a reason.
Yeah, it's
you're still averaging 35 or something points a game.
Right.
You're okay. You're still better than what everybody thought you were going to be.
2-1 after 3 weeks is what Saints wanted. That's exactly what
our schedule only gets easier from here.
Right.
After we play the Chiefs, it only gets easier, and so I think. The biggest thing you can learn from it is you got to finish and close games out in those close scenarios,
don't mess
especially
around.
at home. Because these early games, those are the ones you want to win, so you don't have to grind out late stage.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's a good point.
When you got the lead, when you got a chance, especially a home game against a good opponent, take it and run with it, because you're not going to get a whole lot of them. So schedule gets easier. Take care of business. Everything will be all right.
I think, for me, it's just like you got to have a game plan for, say those key players go down. Like, right. You got to have that in the back of your head, and you just got to be ready. That's something you can't